Good afternoon. My name is Miss Khadijah, and I am a pre-licensed clinical counselor. And I would like to talk to you a little bit today about managing grief. So, a lot of times people talk about grieving and what it means and what it looks like. And so, for a lot of us, we're adults, and so we've been through a grief process, and we know what it looks like and how it feels and how we take care of ourselves and what that is. And managing grief is hard for people at any age, but it's especially complex for children and teens. So whether it's grief from losing a parent, a friend, a beloved pet, a family member, it's important for adults to be there with a sympathetic ear and words of support. While everyone processes grief differently, and that process may vary from day to day, there are many grieving activities or grief activities designed to help children of all ages work through their complicated feelings. So I'm working with betterplaceforest.com, and they offer a very valuable blog that I think is very helpful for parents and families as they're processing their grief and working with their kids and teens to be able to provide support and comfort during this time of bereavement. So here's a couple activities that children from elementary to teens can use. And remember, this is just an option. It's not the be-all, end-all. It's just something to offer you in this time of grief. So it's important that kids have outlets to process their feelings that they might not understand. And for a lot of us as adults, we never received this. And so I'm happy that we have options like Better Place Forest and other mediums to be able to offer this support to you and your families. So, first thing, these options are just a way to work through emotions. They're just 15 ideas that help can support kids at any age at their grief. So the first option is to make a memory box. So building a memory box is one of the creative grief activities that you can do with your child or teen because it gives them an outlet to express their emotions through art. Art has been found to be one of the most supportive, along with music therapy and play therapy, that helps our children express their emotions in a way that's creative, constructive, and really is going to help fuel them in the future as a great coping skill. So in this exercise, you're going to have fun decorating an old cardboard box or any container. But if you aren't feeling really artistic, a store-bought keepsake box works too. A lot of times I find that going to the Dollar Tree is a great place to find things. I also use a lot of old boxes. I keep a lot of boxes. First I thought I was a hoarder, but really I'm just a therapist. So encourage your child to fill the box with things that remind them of their lost loved one or lost loved object. Anything from pictures they draw or photographs to toys, poems, stickers that remind them of the loved one. And then talk about those items that they chose to place in the box and have them share why each is special. To help demonstrate that our loved ones are always on our minds, even when they're gone, spend time periodically looking through the box together and adding new items. In my home, I have a space where in the past, my grandmother, who passed away in 2022, was a very influential part of my life. And I'm still grieving, but for me, grief is just the other side of love. So I have an idea that I received from the Latin population, which is called an ofrenda. You do an ofrenda, it's kind of like a little, not a shrine, but some type of memory expression. And so I put a picture of my grandmother. My daughters put things that reminded us of her. Thankful, grateful, and truly blessed is what my grandmother lived her entire life, trying to find that space, that healthy balance. And so we keep pictures of our loved ones up because I don't want to forget them. I don't want to go through my days that I don't think of them. And so it's just for me a way to demonstrate that my loved one is on my mind. I even have a reminder of my little dog, Pretty Baby, who passed away away in 2016. I have a picture of my stepfather, or my stepfather-in-law, and he passed away last year. And the things that I think about when I think about passing away, I think about I have left my earthly body. I've left this vessel. It is, no longer going to serve me, and my spirit lives on. And so that's my personal spirituality. It doesn't have to be yours. It's a way that I use to cope with loss. And so that's one way that I can offer to my kids, teens, elementary, and even adults. Keeping a journal. Another one of the creative grief activities that you can do with your child or teen is to give them a notebook, colorful pens or markers, and encourage them to keep a grief journal. I could call it a love journal. I could call it my Zola journal. Zola is a practice that I do that is the way to work through the grief and loss of losing something that you cared about deeply, that you loved. So it's suggested that you write or draw on it daily as a way to become aware of your feelings and the ebb and flow of grief. If you aren't old enough to write, they can draw pictures representing how they're feeling that day. You can use this type of journaling for every day, even if it's not about grief and loss, but for this specifically, it's really helpful. And ask if they'd like to share any of the entries with you. And if not, respect their privacy. Keep the door open. Another option is to create a memento together. Another one of the grief activities that children, teens, and even adults can use to help them process their feelings is to have your child create an object that they can carry or something to wear to remember their lost loved one. For me, I wear purple on Saturdays, which is actually the times when I would actually get to visit my grandmother, or red. Red's my favorite color, but my grandmother was like, purple is my favorite color, and I embrace that color, and so I wear that. And every time I wear purple, I think of my grandmother. So an example here is that they might decorate a small rock or create a bracelet by stringing beads together, maybe dried flowers or something similar. And that's a way that when they're feeling sad or missing their loved one, they can wear it or hold that item to help them feel comfort and connection. My grandmother was very into elephants, and so throughout my house there are little elephants, and that is a wonderful way that I can acknowledge her and also remember her, and they're just little things that really help. Number 4, fill in the blanks. If you need a grief activity for kids and teens to encourage them to talk about their feelings, give them prompts and ask them to complete the sentence. Their response will give you a sense of their emotions and open the door for further discussions. Here's some ideas for prompts that you can use. The thing I miss most about my Grandma Ellie is her hugs, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. I grew up not celebrating Christmas for a long time because it wasn't part of my religion. And later in life, when I had my choices, and it became, for me, just a connection, family connection. For me, it wasn't about the religious part of the holiday. It was about my love for my family and my love for my grandmother. And so that's the things that I miss most. I haven't felt like I've had a true Thanksgiving in a long time. And I also reflect on the fact that my mother, who is now the grandmother, the matriarch, she had a loss because her mom is gone. And before that, her grandmother, who was my grandpa's mom, used to do Thanksgiving. And I don't even remember those times, but I remember the times that were important to me. So I wish people understood that I feel sad that she's gone and happy that she's no longer in pain, and I can have that duality. I wish people understood that I can feel angry that I didn't get to get all my questions answered, and that I don't know all her stories. And I also feel happy that my last connections with my grandmother in this space, in this time, were good. The last time I was physically in the presence of my grandmother before her illness took over, we had an opportunity to do healing, and it was actually called hospice care. But your hospice care included music. So you would have music therapy, and you have people come from the church or wherever they're coming from and sing with my grandmother, and they would sing the songs that she loved. And well, I got to come there and sing with them, and I got to come there and laugh with them, and I got to come there and share in some of the stories that not everybody has, and that is a gift for me. I feel sad that I didn't get to be there at her homegoing. I'm sad that I wasn't able to be there with my family, and I felt very alone. And I also know that she would appreciate that my children were there, and that she would appreciate that I was there in spirit, and even more that she would appreciate that I came at a different time when I was ready to say goodbye to her body, and that I can visit her anytime, and whether I'm here in my house or I go to the cemetery or whatever that looks like. My favorite memory of the person who died, there's so many memories. Most of my memories included my cousins, but one of my favorite memories is her being there when I had my first child. And that is something that I can't express to you how that felt to have my grandmother, my mother, me, all in the hospital room. The father of my children wasn't there. The father of my first child wasn't there. And the person who I thought would be there with me came, but they were kind of late, and I don't remember him, but I remember my grandmother, and I remember my grandmother holding my baby and caring for my baby so that I could go to work and take care of my family, and that my grandmother also was there for me. My grandmother's been there for me my whole life, every big event, and I get emotional, and I'm okay with emotion because I want you to know that love, those tears, that's love. So if I could talk to them, I would say, and I talk to them, I talk to my grandmother all the time, I would say, I miss you. I miss your physical presence, and I'm so happy to be part of your legacy. I probably would also say you were right. Most of the time I feel pretty good, and very settled, and there's times when I feel sad, and it's not really so much sadness for me, it's sadness for my mom, sadness for my auntie, because that's the mom, and sadness for my children. Well, this was their great-grandmother, so for me it was a blessing. And so this is the next part, since my grandmother died, my friends, not everybody, I don't really have a lot of friends, but the ones who have been there, my best friend for a long time, she has been and continues to be a solid foundation in my life. And I know that for her, she lost her mom when we were in our 30s, and it was the actual 30. And we're both turning 45 this year. And my grandmother wasn't my mom, but it still hurts. It still hurts. It still feels like a part of my heart is missing. I feel better when I talk about my grandmother, and I get support, and people just let me talk. Or I get to spend, like when I got to go to the cemetery by myself on a day that I wanted to go, not when someone told me to go, or Mother's Day or birthday or any of that. I feel better when I have quiet time that I can think about her and I can process. And it's okay to be sad. It's okay to miss her. And at that same time, I'm glad I knew If your child or teen doesn't feel like talking or whatnot, don't push or force them to. Instead, try again another day. Giving them time and space to process their emotions is such a valuable part of what it means to be a parent as your child is grieving. And keep in mind, you're probably grieving too, so this is probably helpful for you as well. Read books about grief. Another grief activity to get your child or teen talking is to read books about grief. I also watch movies about grief because it makes me feel human. Grief can be difficult. It's a difficult emotion for a child or a teenager. It's a difficult emotion for an adult. And this might be something that they're experiencing that's new. It's complicated. They don't understand. And luckily, there's a lot of books and movies about death, loss, and grieving that can be helpful. I actually got a lot of this information just by doing a quick internet search to help you find selections of books suitable for your child's age. And so, how to help children cope with grief is another thing that you can read about. Screen time. No, this isn't a typo. This is what it says on here. We're suggesting screen time over screen time. Kids are usually discouraged from throwing temper tantrums, but in this case, encourage them to let it out. Long, loud scream. Letting out pent-up anger, fear, and sadness can really be cathartic, and it's a great grief activity for elementary kids and teens, shoot, even adults. I know that one time I talked to one of my clients and they said, I just want to go into the forest where it's quiet and nobody's there, and I just want to scream. I want to shout. I want to get all of my feelings outside of my body, and that is healthy. Write letters to your lost loved one. Composing a letter can help you feel connected to the recipient. If you know that they'll never read them, even if you know they'll never read them, it's a great grief activity for teens, adults, that they can do on their own, but you'll want to work with your younger children who can't write to share their feelings. Or crafting a letter is like a creative grief activity that allows them to use their words to express how much they miss their loved one or update them on what's been happening since they passed away.